There seems to be some confusion about religion and cults. A cult is not a religion. It's a social movement. And what we are witnessing, Mr. Speaker, is a social movement, not a religion. So, Mr. Speaker, as I weigh in on this, I want to actually urge my fellow senators in the floor of the House to understand that we are actually discussing a matter of a social movement whereby we have a person who has convinced other people to starve themselves and their families to death, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have an issue.
What's your point
and
of
the
order,
issue,
Senator Sifuna?
and I hope my time will be given back to me.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Gloria is misleading this House because it is in the public domain that in fact this gentleman was running a church called Good News International. If you feel constrained to speak freely on this issue, you don't have to contribute. But what you cannot do, Mr. Speaker, is to try and mischaracterize what we are facing. These people, we know what social movements are. We know what the social movement is, like what she was trying with sensitization on period shaming. That's a social movement. It's not a cult. Are you saying your movement is a cult? It's not a cult, Mr. Speaker. It is in public domain that in fact this gentleman was running a church. It is based on certain faith and beliefs that are founded in religion. In fact, Mr. Speaker, so if you feel that because of your own political
Senator
constraints...
Sifuna, you have made your point.
Oh, let me finish. Let me finish. And you will not shout at me. Let me finish. I'm on a point of order.
Order, Gloria.
Yeah, I am. I am on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, if you feel constrained by your political chains, that you can't put them down and speak to an issue objectively, you don't have to contribute, but you don't have to mislead us here.
Senator Gloria, assume and proceed to prosecute your issue.
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing here as Senator Gloria Orowba, giving my views as Senator Gloria Orowba. I do not see any chains around me, Mr. Speaker, and let it be known to the public that what I speak here represents on my beliefs and my opinions. I do not speak for anybody. So, Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, a cult is a social movement. And that is what it is. A cult is a social movement. And we have so many people who are opening up all sorts of establishments in the guises of religious institutions. Not only churches, but also all sorts of things, including mosques and what they call religious schools and things like that. We all know, particularly some of us who are Christians, we know what the church looks like. So, Mr. Speaker, today I want to say this. What we lack, and we are in this house, this is the upper house, where we have been sent as senators to legislate. And what we lack in this country, Mr. Speaker, is that there is no legal definition of a cult. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we had a legal definition of a cult, Mr. Speaker, then this would have been a very clear case of this is a cult, this is what it entails, and this is how we have to, deal with this matter, Mr. Speaker. We had the pronouncement of our leader saying that this is a terrorist. I agree, Mr. Speaker. This is not a pastor. This is a terrorist. A terrorist who has actually gone out of their way to influence people to kill themselves, just as we have suicide bombers, Mr. Speaker. So when we are weighing in on this matter, I wanted to sensitize people that when we are talking of cults, Mr. Speaker, whether you want to put a blanket on them and call them religious institutions and try to tie them to the church, Mr. Speaker, it is obvious, it is in the public domain that any person who actually pushes other people to kill themselves or pushes other people to have extreme activities within a social movement is a cult, Mr. Speaker.